The sword that had taken his son's life now lay broken at his feet. And Umar ibn al-Khattab, the commander of the believers, was being asked to let its owner go free. The desert sun was a merciless orb of fire, but the heat in Umar's heart was fiercer. It was the year 636 CE, and the plains of Yarmouk had just drunk the blood of thousands. The Muslim army, against all odds, had shattered the mighty Byzantine legions. But in the tent of the Caliph, there was no victory celebration, only the cold, crushing silence of grief. Khalid, Umar's only son, a young man of immense promise whose laughter used to echo in the courtyards of Medina, was gone. He had fallen not in a grand charge, but in a skirmish with a retreating Byzantine patrol. A specific patrol, led by a notorious officer known as Theophilus, the Hound of Heraclius, famed for his cruelty and his distinctive, serpent-engraved blade. When the news reached Umar, a part of his soul turned to stone. He made an oath, not as a caliph, but as a grieving father. He would find Theophilus. He would look into the eyes of the man who had orphaned him and deliver justice. Weeks later, in the newly established court of Damascus, Umar's oath was fulfilled. Theophilus was captured, found hiding in a ruined monastery, his spirit broken, his fine clothes replaced with the rags of a prisoner. He was dragged before the caliph. The court held its breath. The nobles, the soldiers, the companions, they all knew of Umar's pain. They expected a swift, righteous execution. The air was thick with anticipation and the unspoken approval of revenge. Umar sat on a simple mat, his gaze fixed on the chained, defeated Roman. He saw the man's fear, the grime on his face, the trembling hands that had once wielded the sword that killed Khalid. The memory of his son's smiling face flashed before him, and a wave of pure, undiluted hatred threatened to drown his reason. Theophilus, Umar's voice was like gravel, cutting through the silence. You led the patrol that killed my son. The Roman officer lifted his head, a flicker of defiant pride in his eyes. I did. It was war. Was it war to strike down a young man from behind after the main battle was lost? Umar's question was a whisper, but it carried across the entire hall. Theophilus did not answer, lowering his gaze. Umar stood up. The crowd leaned in. This was the moment. The caliph would draw his own sword and exact his blood right. The soldiers tightened their grips on their weapons, ready to follow his lead. But Umar did not reach for a sword. He closed his eyes, and his lips moved in a silent prayer. He was wrestling with a storm within, the tempest of a father's grief against the anchor of a believer's faith. He opened his eyes and addressed the court. People of Damascus and my fellow Muslims, this man is my prisoner. He has caused me a pain that can never heal. My soul cries out for his blood. It would be the easiest thing in the world to grant it that desire. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. Then, he continued, his voice growing stronger, clearer, imbued with a divine conviction.